Yo, what is up, everyone? My name is Geeked, and today I'm gonna be telling you guys about the time that I had a seizure from geeking too hard, and it was all from this. Now, I didn't take all of these. This is about 6 months of geeking, but yeah, fuck ton of packages that I went through. When I had the seizure, it was because I had like 5 packages, so I had like 2 road trips, I had 3 tray house, and then I had these shroom fused like dots or like gummies. It was like a 3-pack or whatever the fuck. I don't know what they were exactly, but yeah, I had a seizure from that, so let's get into it. I don't have any weed today because I'm a broke bum that got disabled from this, and now I have to get back surgery because my right side shut down and it shifted my entire body, and it ruptured a fucking disc. So that's why I'm gonna be ripping on my geek bar. Geek bar. Oh my god, I'm tweaking out for the geek bar. I don't know, but yeah, I just wanted to tell this story to actually just get my story out there, to tell the story about how I became disabled, and what I had to go through. So yeah, let's get into it. I'm ready to tell the story now. Okay, so about a year and a half ago, I started suffering a lot of migraines, and I had migraines that are called hemiplegic migraines. Excuse me, I'm frogging my voice. I had a thing called hemiplegic migraines, and that is where essentially, like, you have so much inflammation in your brain, and your migraine is so bad that it shuts down one half of your body, like it paralyzes it. You lose feeling in that side of the body temporarily. And so I had to deal with that, and I had a shitty job where they forced me to do a lot of shit, even when I told them I can't because my side is paralyzed. And they're like, "Oh, you gotta take out the trash." I'm like, "I literally cannot walk." They're like, "You need to do this." I'm like, "Fine, I'll fucking do it." And I just overworked myself to the point where, like, I was there from 2 till about 4 in the fucking morning because those people could not handle taking care of anything. But that's besides the point. So essentially, I worked myself to death, and the migraines got worse, and I started turning to psychedelics because, like, life was getting way too hard for me to handle. And psychedelics always kind of, like, I don't know, help me figure out things, help me calm down. I don't know. Just that's how I've always uh used them. Like, I treat them as medicine. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but yeah, so I started taking Trait House, Trait House and Road Trip and the hazy shrooms or whatever. I think I have a package here. I gotta sort through all these fucking things. I legit have almost like 50 packages here. Like, no bullshit. Yeah, I got a hazy shroom one. These were actually pretty good. But yeah, I started taking psychedelics, and I met a lovely lady who was also a tremendous geeker. And I have many stories of geeking that maybe I won't share because they're private. But yeah, you know, she was a geeker, and she wanted to do psychedelics with me, and I was like, "Oh, lovely! I finally found someone that will take psychedelics with me and want to go on a spiritual journey and talk about heavy subjects and, like, about reality, yada yada yada, that type of shit." And so we started doing these shrooms, and I was living at my dad's house at the time, and he got cheated on with his, like, past marriage or whatever, divorced her, and crashed the fuck out and started drinking heavy. Like, dude would go through 3 24 packs of Coors Light in one fucking week. That's a lot of money. A lot of money. But yeah, as he started drinking more, he became more abusive and, like, wanted me to, like, start taking care of the house, taking care of all the bills, and I had these migraine problems happening, and my job was, like, literally killing me. Um, and it was my responsibility to pay for the electric, to pay for food, and to fix any problems with the house. Now, if I couldn't fix them, I had to pay for someone to fix them. And at first, when I moved in with him, it wasn't like that. It's like, I'll give you a place to stay as long as you take care of your own needs, like your own food and all that. And then eventually spiraled into him drinking crazy amounts, becoming an asshole, forcing me to go get him all sorts of shit, like alcohol, I mean. And like having to take care of him and me while I was suffering. And all he was doing was drinking. So I mention that because the day that I had this like tremendous geek sesh with my girl, and then which eventually led to me having a seizure, he was drinking heavily, and he was fucking with us. And yeah, I'll get to that. So I'm jumping around. Sorry. First time making a YouTube video in a very long time, so I'm out of practice. Okay. Yeah. So we plan to take like a mega dose because we've always been like being a pussy and like maybe taking one package, two packages. And I'm like, what if we see how far we can take this and see if we can have like the best time possible together? And so we set out on a quest to the great and glorious smoke shop run by some sketchy dude. But I went out there and I bought 2 of the road trip packages for each of us. And then I bought 3 of the Treehouse packages for each of us. And then I bought these like shroom fuse dots or gummies, whatever you want to call them. So together we were going to be taking 2 road trips. We're going to be taking 3 of the Treehouse and 1 package of like the shroom fuse. I think that's what they're called. And we had like a really nice dinner. And like, okay, it's time to go back to my dad's, the abusive asshole, and try and have a good trip and not have him ruin it or start yelling or anything, whatever. And so we get to the house, and he's like, where the fuck have you guys been? I'm like, oh, we plan on tripping tonight. He's like, oh, you didn't give me nothing? Oh. And I'm like, I spend so much money on this house. Why do I need to pay for your drugs? Why do I need to pay for your alcohol, right? Which I did end up having to do, pay for his fucking alcohol when I was like literally disabled and had no money, no job, all that. Whatever. He's like, oh, you guys didn't get me nothing? Oh. And so we were tripping like in 30 minutes of getting home because we went back downstairs to my room and then we eat all the mushrooms and we start tripping in 30 minutes because like that's a lot of psychedelics in your stomach and you're going to come up really fast on that. And so the peak starts happening and then he's like, I need you guys to come up here and hang out with me. I'm feeling fucking alone. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to turn our trip sideways. And we're sitting up there and he's listening to death metal because he knows we're tripping and he never listens to death metal. My dad's like a veteran. He was an Army Ranger. And he claims that listening to death metal puts him in a very bad headspace. And so he like stopped listening to death metal completely because that's what I remember him listening to when I was younger. And now he like listens to country music and like Evanescence and shit like that. But he knew that we were tripping and then put on death metal. He's like, you guys got to come up here. Then he puts the death metal on and it starts fucking with our trip. And then my girlfriend is like, I'm feeling really antsy. I don't like this music. And so she starts like pacing around. And then my dad decides to yell at her, quit fucking walking around. Go sit down. And I'm like, oh my God. He's going to like cause a bad trip and psychological harm. So we put up with it for like 10 more minutes. And I'm like, okay, Dad, I'm tired. I need to go downstairs and spend time with my woman. And so that's what we do. And we had like a crazy trip and like we were tripping well into the morning. Like as soon as the sun came up, we were still tripping. And then we tripped like a bunch more. And then we fell asleep for like an hour or two. And I had forgotten that my girlfriend had work early in the morning. And so we fell asleep at like 7 and we woke up at like 9:20 and she had to be to work by 9:30. And when I woke up, I had like a throbbing migraine. My vision was all like blurry and I'm like, "Oh fuck. I fucked up by doing this." But then as that thought occurs to me, another thought occurs like, "Oh shit, that's right. She told me she had work and it's like 9:20." So I like frantically wake her up like, "Wake up, babe, wake up." And she wakes up, she's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "You have work in 10 minutes. You need to call into work and tell them you'll be there as soon as possible." And so that's what she does. So we're freaking out. My heart's racing. I have blood pressure problems, by the way. And she's like, "Okay, I gotta go." So she throws on her work shit, and we literally run from the basement where my room was all the way upstairs and then run to the door. And because I have uh, bad like blood pressure, my ears were like ringing and my head was throbbing and I felt really lightheaded and I started like cold sweating. I'm like, "Oh shit, what the fuck is this?" And she's like, "You okay? You okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay," as I'm like slurring my words. And then I start feeling my right side start to lose feeling again. I'm like, "Oh no, this is gonna be bad." And I was thinking like, okay, I'm gonna be down for today. Like I can't move. Like that's the worst that I thought was gonna happen. And so I give her a hug and I'm like, "I'm okay. Just like go to work. Don't worry about me. Just focus on like the task at hand or whatever." And as she like gives me a hug and then she turns around to go walk out the door to go in her car and then eventually get to work, she turns around and as soon as she turns around, my vision starts tunneling and then everything starts spinning and I start seeing all these like glitchy patterns and shit. Really fucking creepy. And I just remember like a sudden sense of doom and overwhelm wash over me. And then essentially, like, I started to feel like my soul or something was like detaching from my body. And then everything went black, like immediately. Like everything collapsed in reality, and I was just unconscious. Um, Apparently, I was like seizing for about like 3 minutes, and when I was unconscious, and I woke up to her screaming, freaking out, and I'm like, hey, I'm here, I'm back, what happened?" And like, I genuinely did not know what the fuck just happened. And it felt like every part of my body was misplaced and my stomach was doing flip flops. And I felt so sick and I couldn't bring myself to like sit upright because I was so lightheaded. And she's like, "I don't like this. I'm calling the ambulance right away." So she calls them, and I don't know what it was, but I was out of it, and it took me a few seconds to realize what was going on. And then when I did realize I just had a seizure, she's calling the ambulance. I was like, "Hey, don't call the ambulance because that's going to be a lot of debt." And then she tells the operator that basically she'll take me to the hospital, but then just hangs up on the operator, which was bad. And so she gets a call back from 911, like, "Hey, you can't just hang up on us and say he's fine. We're gonna send some like a sheriff out there to check on you," and, which happened. And uh, they said that they were gonna send the sheriff. Right? Sorry, I'm backtracking. And as we're waiting for the sheriff to pull up, my dad, who was like hella drunk the night before and being a dick, he just walks down the stairs from his room that was upstairs. He's like, "What the fuck is going on?" And I'm like, "I just had a seizure, dude. Like, I need to go and get help immediately." He's like, "Oh, well, you can handle it. I'm too fucked up." And he just turns around and just walks upstairs. And then, before he like went back to his room or whatever, he noticed all the shroom packages laying on the floor. He's like, "You need to hide all those because the sheriff." And then he just went back to his room and passed the fuck out. Like, what a fucking dick, dude. So, anyways, the sheriff comes and I tell him, "Hey, I'm walking around. I'm upright. I'm gonna be going to the hospital and getting help," which I didn't do until the next day because I was freaking out. I was really scared and really anxious, and I didn't think I could handle all the IVs in my arm and all that shit. So, anyways, the next day rolls around. I have to tell my mom, and she's like, "You need to go to the hospital," which then I eventually did. And they gave me all these like drugs through the IV, which made my veins really itchy. It made me really uncomfortable in my skin. And like, as soon as they discharged me, I literally just walked like 4 fucking miles Like, I could not, like, stop moving. I felt so uncomfortable. But then my girlfriend picks me up, and things start to feel a little bit better, a little okay, and I feel a bit more stabilized. And then I'm just like processing like how my dad treated me, and I'm like, fuck. Like, if someone really loved you, especially a family member, they wouldn't just like be like, "Oh, you can handle it. Oh, it's not my problem," especially something major like that. So then like I started hanging out with my girlfriend more, and like literally running away from my dad. And then it became a whole thing where he's like, "Oh, you want to spend time with me? You're a fucking piece of shit." And then he would like withhold my medications that I needed for like post seizure migraines and um, all of that. Like, he literally like wouldn't let me come to the house to get my medication. And then it became a whole thing where it's like, "You're choosing a girl over me," and all this. And then one time he wanted to fight me, and I'm like, "You know what? I'm gonna leave now because you're in my face and you got your fist balled up, but I'm gonna come back and get my shit." And then the next day I come and like go back and try and get my shit. And then he sits down and he's like, "Hey, I'm really sorry how I acted. I'll be a better father, yada yada yada." And so I stay at his house for a couple days, and shit starts to progress again. He becomes a fucking prick. And he's like, "I need you to go out and get all this shit for me and get me all sorts of beer and all that." So I go to the grocery store, get groceries with my own fucking money. And then he had no money and he needed me to get alcohol. So I pay for a bunch of alcohol with his money. And then I come back to the house and he's like, "Oh, you missed a bunch of stuff on my list." And I'm like, "It's my money, not yours." He's like, "You know, fuck you." And he whipped a chair at my fucking head. And so I run down to my bedroom and I lock the door and I prop a chair up against it. And he's like throwing shit downstairs into the basement at me. I mean, not at me, I'm behind the closed door. While he's doing all that, I pop the screen off my window, grab my wallet, grab my phone. Most importantly, grab my geek bar, because you need that. And yeah, so I was like climbing up through the window, and that's when I heard him running down the stairs, and I heard a slide rack, like on a gun, like a like that shit. And that's when I took the fuck off. And then he came into my room, busted the door open, and then he saw I wasn't there. So then he goes and runs outside, and he's like, "Hey, yo, where the fuck are you at?" And I'm hiding behind a tree. And then he like goes back inside, and that's when I take off, and I run down to like a landing, which is like a spot where you can load your boats into a lake. If you don't know, I don't know if you need to know that. But anyways, I hide in a porta potty at the dock or the landing site, and I hear him driving up and down, screaming my name. And I call my girlfriend. I'm like, "You need to pick me up," which she does. And then I basically got out of there scotch free, like unharmed and all that. But like, yeah, that's genuinely what the fuck happened after having a seizure from geeking so hard. Crazy shit, man. But yeah, that's the story on how I geeked so hard that I had a seizure. And the aftermath, I forgot to say, of geeking so hard and having a seizure is that now my right side is permanently paralyzed. I don't know if you can notice it, but this eye, and like my face is always red on my right side, but this eye droops. And I have limited feeling in my right hand all the way down to my toes. And I had a gun pulled on me afterwards, after dealing with disability. So that's my story. I have plenty more stories that I want to get out there. I had to sell everything to get away from that abusive motherfucker, so that's why I'm only filming it on my phone. But hey, I'm not so broke to where I can't afford a geek bar. Make that make sense. But yeah, if you would like to hear more stories from me, I plan on making more videos in the future. And I appreciate you checking out this video. If you liked it, maybe hit subscribe or like. I feel bad for asking for that, but I don't know. I just want to build a community. I don't want to get famous. I don't want to get rich. I just want a community of people that understand me and appreciate the stories that I tell. I don't know. Anyway, stay tuned for future videos, and yeah, we'll talk again. Thank you for watching. Geek Links, out.